Delhi Policy Group is delighted to announce its third Habitat Centre Policy Group lecture on the neighbourhood. And we are honoured indeed to have a trustee and the former Deputy National Security Advisor of India, Ambassador Leela Ponappa, giving this lecture. We're also honoured to have Ambassador Shankar Vajpayee in the chair.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming. I'm glad you share our interest in a subject on which a great deal of more knowledge and understanding are necessary, both in our country and in the neighborhood that we're going to talk about. I notice that in one place I'm introduced as ambassador and another as Mr. But if I were to be really proud of a title, it would be of professor, which is what I was for 5 years at Berkeley after retiring. And there I learned that concepts keep changing. First thing to understand is what do we mean by neighborhood. And of course, it is now one of the accepted conventions of all thinking that the whole world is one and is a neighborhood. But we have to be a little more precise in our sense of the distinction between the states that you have to consider as part of your proximity and those who are, of course, perhaps even more important, but are physically, politically, and otherwise not immediately next to you. So I think we will have a very interesting excursion onto that whole field. And of course, I would add that my concept of our neighborhood was given to me by my father, whom some of you may know, the first head of our foreign service when he was constituting it, or helping to constitute it, was known as the father of the foreign service. He promptly denied all such parentage and said no, only of 2 members. But anyway, he taught us that he taught me and tried to teach the others. As partition was approaching, whatever we may end up with as our physical or political frontiers, our strategic frontiers will remain the concentric circles from the Hindu Kush to the Irrawaddy, to Aden to Singapore, and ultimately from Suez to Shanghai. That is where our primary security, economic, and even demographic interests lie with people from India and so many of these countries. So we could define it in many, many ways, but I think I'm sure by the end of the evening, agree with the definition that Leela gives. I am particularly happy as well as privileged to be chairing a session by her. I had the enormous pleasure of knowing her from the time she joined the service till after she left it. She came as a probationer to Sikkim when I was there, and then we ended up with officers next to each other in the National Security Board, and in between she was an extraordinarily able and helpful colleague in the ministry and a very successful and incisive analyst of foreign policy, but above all, a very dear friend. Leela, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Ambassador Shankar Vajpayee, Chairman Emeritus of the Delhi Policy Group, and a senior colleague with whom I have, since the 1970s, had the benefit and pleasure of exchanging many ideas concerning India and its neighborhood. Dr. Radha Kumar, Director General of the Delhi Policy Group, friends and colleagues from the Foreign Service, from media, from the News Broadcasting Standards Authority, academia, and elsewhere, again, many of whom have helped me develop my thinking on today's subject. Ladies and gentlemen, when this lecture series was first planned several months ago, I saw it as a timely opportunity for a serious and conceptual discussion on what constitutes India's neighborhood in the context of the major socio-economic developments within the country itself and the geopolitical changes that are occurring in Asia and beyond. I was honored to be asked to contribute to the series and chose this evening's topic of redefining India's neighborhood in order to explore with you the mindset concerning India's positioning of itself and role amidst these major developments.